First, I had to fly to Los Angeles, which, as we know from the song, is a great big freeway. That makes it the perfect place to test the most important car since the car was invented. Here it is. It's called the FCX Clarity, and I'm afraid it's a four-door Honda.
But if Raymond Baxter, God rest him, were here with us today, he'd be wearing a perfectly cut suit and he'd be saying that this is the future of motoring.
And that's certainly not because of the way it looks, because it looks just like a car. There's more normality too.
It doesn't drive itself, doesn't levitate. This is remarkably like driving around in a Honda.
What the Clarity is an electric car, but it's nothing like the Tesla that Jeremy drove earlier. In fact, it's nothing like any electric car we've ever seen before.
The front wheels are driven by a perfectly normal electric motor, but there are no batteries. Instead, this car has its own on-board electricity generating station, and that takes the form of a hydrogen fuel cell.
And now, viewers, you better brace yourselves. Either that'll turn over to the soft porn and Nazi sharks on Channel 5, because I'm about to explain all this.
At the back of the car is a fuel tank, exactly where you'd expect it to be, but instead of filling it with petrol or diesel, it is filled with compressed hydrogen. Now, this hydrogen is combined with oxygen from the air in the fuel cell, and in a rather complicated and boring way, that makes electricity. That electricity is then used to drive the electric motor, which turns the front wheel, like it might do in a perfectly normal front-wheel drive car, and the whole process is controlled by the whole process is controlled by a box of electronics under the bonnet where the engine would normally be. And that really is all there is to it.
It's the fuel cell and the hydrogen tank that goes with it that puts the Clarity in a different league to every other electric car.
So far, most electric cars have been appalling little plastic snot boxes that take all night to recharge and then take half a minute to reach their maximum speed of 40 and then run out of juice miles from anywhere. Prius, sucker.
But when the Clarity runs out of juice, you just pull into a hydrogen filling station.
The hydrogen is compressed into a liquid, so it's a bit like petrol. You fill it just like a petrol car. And the only difference is, because this is under pressure, you have to lock it with this lever. Terribly important that. If you don't do that, you get hydrogen all over your shoes.
In America, hydrogen costs roughly the same as petrol. But unlike petrol, it'll never run out, because it's the most abundant element in the universe.
That whole process has taken somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes and has given me another 270 miles of driving.
And there's another bonus with hydrogen.
The only emission from this car is water, because that's what you get when you mix H and O. H2O, water.
Of course, I'm not going to pretend that a four-door saloon is as much fun to drive as that Tesla. But that said, the Clarity isn't bad. I mean, it develops 136 horsepower.
So this is an electric car that will do 100 miles an hour and 0 to 60 in just over 9 seconds, which is right on the money for a family car. Isn't this we're belting through the mountains, accompanied by a little woo sound? Whoa, this is making my blue ball go all orange. I should probably explain that. You see, on the dash, there is this little blue circular symbol which grows the more vigorously I drive. The bigger it is, the more hydrogen I'm using. And if I really put the hammer down like this, it turns orange.
At the moment, the Clarity is only available in California. So I decided to ask an ordinary California motorist what he thought of it. Mind you, this chap does seem to like his cars. He's American talk show host Jay Leno.
It's my favorite ad. If you notice, the car is skidding off the road in their own ad. That's how bad handling a car was.
I'm trying to come up with a bit of a setup
like this next to my house, albeit quite a bit smaller. It turns out that Jay, like me, is a fan of the Clarity. Not just because it's clever, but because it might just be the saviour of all the amazing gas guzzlers in here.
Car enthusiasts that think, oh, this is going to be awful. No, it won't. It'll save the petrol. It'll save your MG or your Sprite or your Midget, whatever you have. And you go out in the weekend, you have fun, and then you put this in the car park during the week. Much like the automobile was the savior of the horse. You know, in the cities, at least in America, horses would be whipped and they'd drop dead. And then when the car came along, it freed up the horse to be used for recreational purposes and just the beauty of the animal, whatever you want to call it. And I think these type of cars would be the savior of our sports cars, our MGs, Porsches, things like that.
You know how the Toyota Prius is the sort of darling of Hollywood? It's a fashion statement.
But you know why, BC? Because it has the moral superiority. With the Prius, you can go, look, I am driving an unattractive car because I am saving the planet. See, in America, we like everyone to know about the good work we're doing anonymously.
I'm absolutely convinced that the Clarity is the most important car for 100 years. And there's a very good reason for that.
One day, we will, sadly, run out of oil, and then we'll need something else. Now, electric cars have always seemed very promising, but as long as they're powered by batteries, they don't quite cut it. I mean, think of all the people down there driving around. We've built our lives around the car as we know it. You get in, you drive as far as you want to go, you fill up, you drive some more. That is the freedom that a petrol-powered car gives you. If its replacement is something that goes for 10 yards and then takes 4 hours to bring back to life, we'll have gone backwards.
The Clarity, though, is different. It fits the life we already have. The reason it's the car of the future is because it's just like the car of today.